G'day everyone, Jason Nunn, Fisherman's Warehouse, Tuckerwell Marks Point, with the Friday fishing report. Have a look at it. It's hard to believe they're only a couple of days into August and it's about 24 degrees, possibly even more, up the valley. Have a look at it here behind me here. What a backdrop up here at Swansea Heads. The ocean, how flat is it? And this is where everyone will be going tomorrow, because what you see today is a carbon copy of the Saturday forecast. Bit of a southerly coming into Sunday, so it's going to affect Sunday. So you've got to really make the most of it either this afternoon, of course, or get out there tomorrow. It looks sensational. Reports from last weekend, incredible out there. We had an opportunity to duck out last Sunday. As I said, last Friday, we'll make an effort, and we did. 5 yellowfin tuna up to 43 kilo. Got some really nice fish, couple of double hookups in that. But other guys around us were getting yellowfin as well, and on the Saturday the yellowfin themselves went off their heads and they were just thick on that southern canyon area. I've heard reports today from Port Stephens down to the southern canyons, yellowfin everywhere. But the surprising thing at the moment is, I spoke to a couple of guys yesterday late at the ramp, some of these yellowfin, because this current at the moment has started to push in from the east, in fairly close. When I say close, in and around about that early 70 fathoms, those 70 to 75 fathoms. So we're starting to see some of these fish actually get pushed in. There was an immense amount of bait out there last weekend too. Souries, of course, but lots and lots of slimies. And in fact, there were a few marlin around. My good mate Duncan Manderson fished up off Port Stephens last Saturday, Sunday. Got a striped marlin in amongst some of those yellowfin. Out here last Sunday, the boys off bait ball and lost a striped marlin, and I did hear of another one getting caught the following day. The water temperature out here at the moment off the shelf, in and around like that sort of 20.8 to nearly 21 degrees in patches, pushing in. That little bit of a temp break we had last week was about 19.5. That's where the fin appeared to be, but they were up on the shelf itself opposed to be over the back of the canyons, and we got most of our fish in and around about 90 to 80 fathoms. So there was plenty in it for everybody. A magnificent tiger shark got caught last week by Ryan Bettison and crew out on the shelf, 500 kilo. That's over 1,000 pound on 50 pound gear. An absolutely incredible effort to get such a big beast like that. There are a lot of humpback whales out on the shelf at the moment. No doubt those big tigers like that are actually feeding on those either old whales or even the young whales, but there's quite a bit of whale activity out wide. Tomorrow is going to be, and I've had a lot of calls today, the opportunity to get out there tomorrow and have a crack at these yellowfin. It's just not going to get any better. Obviously skirted lures working well. We had some really good success, guys, with the Halco Max 190s. I've talked about them for years, but they were incredibly effective with our fish, and 3 out of our 5 fish came off that particular lure. So good opportunity to get out there. And now look, when you're launching, I want to just cap on this launching situation at the moment. The boat ramp at Blacksmith's, half the ramp. So if you've got a big vessel, our vessel's about 7 metres, we could not launch at the Blacksmith's ramp because of the steepness on that southern side of the ramp is too acute to get the trailer in. We in fact had to go over to what they call now Thomas Humphrey Reserve, the old Coon Island boat ramp, and we had to launch there and get a bridge in and out. So if you've got a big boat and you're thinking of launching there, particularly tomorrow, think again. You may need to go over to that Thomas Humphrey Reserve ramp because it's going to get quite congested at that Ungala Road ramp, and again, smaller vessels probably a little bit more suited. On the deep water, out on the farm and down towards the Texas, a lot of current, and that's what happened last weekend. That current was ripping in, so it made snapper fishing and kingfish, particularly jigging for kings, a little bit more difficult. They did get a few reds and the odd king, but this current that's pushing in, I've been watching it over the last few days on the sea surface chart, is kicking in and then still ripping back down. So I still think that current may affect that farm area right the way down through the Texas, but the water has increased dramatically, and as I say, it's well over 20 degrees, getting up towards 21. So there's a real big current line running down there. So you just don't know how good it could be. Inshore, look, as we see behind us here, it's absolutely picture perfect. I had some really good reports of snapper north, so north of Merriweather, that Bar Beach area, back up towards Newcastle. There's some really nice snapper on those inshore reefs up off Newcastle at the present moment. There's been a few nice fish getting caught down at Waibug, and we're now starting to see some of these better fish now on these little inshore reefs like Cavesy and down towards the Big Cave and Catherine Hill Bay. So plenty of red starting to build, some really nice flathead getting caught, those blue spot flathead really starting to come into it now, and surprisingly enough, still a few bonito on that offshore situation. Reports of long-tailed tuna off the beach at Blacksmith, so hard to believe these northern blues are still here, but they're getting them at Port Stephens as well, up towards Foster, but these fish were busting up off Blacksmith's Beach on Tuesday. So these longtails just seem to be just hanging around the whole of the winter, which is amazing when you consider that the water temperature on the beach is only around about 17 degrees. Still a few salmon on the beach, those little guys are still there, and you're seeing a few tailor and of course a few dart, and that again is just showing you what diversity most of our beaches are physically happening. You know, the Belmont Blacksmith stretch right up through Stockton, so there's plenty of diversity around. No salmon in Salts Bay, guys. That patch of salmon is on the back of the Air Force Channel, so they're sitting up there in the shallows. Some days they are receptive to lures, other days they're not, they're a bit more stubborn and then turning away from them. But they're definitely there down that Air Force strip. I know there's been a big patch of salmon off the coast here for the last few weeks, but they're not moving around and they're not coming into the estuary. So what's there is in the Air Force Channel if you want to have a bit of a dabble and see what's going on there. Ludrick, yes. Plenty of good Ludrick around. I know Paul Shepherd, a good mate of mine, he got some beautiful Ludrick the last couple of days down near the bridge, which is great to see. So we're seeing them not only at Lucy's, but no doubt they'll probably be down along the broken wall, the sunken wall as well if you're in the boat, down towards the bridge and towards Nauru. So some really nice Ludrick getting caught at the present moment. Still those jackets that we talked about, which is great to see. But really the fishing in the lake, I got a phone call, just a text message actually, only around about an hour ago from Wayne Flanagan. He's out on the water as we speak now. He had one of his good mates with him, hasn't been into fishing that long, just lost a cobia about 1 metre long after a 20-minute fight. Now Wayne also this week on Tuesday lost a big mulloway down the back of the lake, and this is what we're seeing, these bigger fish in amongst those tailor schools. So certainly in and around that Pulborough Island area, Sunken Rock, down towards Sunshine, back over towards Bonnells Bay, that pocket of water there is holding an immense amount of bait. So you've got your tailor working through it, salmon mixed in, but some very good flathead, mulloway, and of course like this cobia that the boys just lost then. So you just don't know what you're going to catch. There's been some really good brim around, guys, and look, there's been some excellent brim in the channel, but also in the lake, and those guys that are doing that little bit of late evening fishing really benefiting with that. And then look, I just think this weekend's just going to be absolutely perfect, particularly tomorrow. As I say, that southerly's going to ruin things on Sunday. Look at the afternoon, so if you can get off work early this afternoon, get on out here or wait till tomorrow. But the forecast tomorrow is unbelievable, a little bit of variant later in the day when it goes a little bit of southeast. It'll be perfect. Guys, those yellowfin tuna taste fantastic. If you ever want to catch one, now's the time. Let me know how you go, and I'll see you next Friday.